Okay. Good evening, everyone. Apologies for starting a few minutes late. We were just finishing off the Afrikaans session. So I'm just going to give 1 more minute and then we will start with this session, just for everybody to be able to join. Okay, good evening, everybody. I just want to hear if you can just let me know if you can hear me.
I can hear you clearly.
Thank you, Melanie. I appreciate that. Just sometimes you don't know, but then I'm happy if you can hear me. Welcome to this session tonight, Flourishing in Retirement, Your Blueprint for Success. I hope that you will truly enjoy it with me. Sorry, just a moment. I think there's somebody that just needs to come into the venue. Okay, I do apologize for that. My name is Jacob Bashir, and I'll be your host for this session. But before I start, I want to actually put this session forward to the honor of my grandmother, Maria Elisabeth Jacobina Holstelsen. So I had a very special relationship with her. I can remember being small, not even in the school. Me and my brother would visit them every holiday, stay there for the whole holiday. It was just amazing. Very special lady. But when I grew a bit older, I realized they never had a lot of money. My grandfather worked for Spoornet, Transnet. Today, my grandmother never worked officially outside of the house. She later just earned an old age grant. But I can honestly not remember them ever complaining about not having enough money. They stayed very active. I can remember my grandmother, even when she was over 60, she would visit the older ladies in Bloemhof where they lived. She would go and do their hair. She would drive them to town to get their groceries done, etc. And then they always arranged these family parties. She was really a party animal. And despite not having a lot of money, they would rent the town hall in Bloemhof. She would bake all the food and then invite the family to come over to dance and have a good time. From her, I learned that relationships are so important, even if you don't have a lot of money. So, what are we going to look at tonight? I'm first going to share with you why I do what I do, why it is important to talk about retirement planning, the dark side of retirement, ageism, baby boomers, how retirement changed over time, and how we can plan our transition. And like George Bernard Shaw said, You don't stop laughing when you grow old. You grow old when you stop laughing. So I must now just also say that tonight's session is basically an introduction. So depending on if you like it or if you learn something, you are then welcome, or I will on the group arrange that we can have also a free follow-up session to continue the discussions. So tonight is basically an introduction. Okay, as I've said, I'm Jaco Verscheer, certified professional retirement coach, but I'm also an accountant. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I like older people because of my grandmother. But then also I honestly believe that everybody's future can be better than it is today. And when I had to decide to focus on my clients, what clients will I focus on in my practice? I thought that I would like to work with people that's close to retirement or that have retired. And I want to assist them with more than just finances. So in 2020, I did the professional retirement coaching qualification in the United States. And a lot of what I'm going to share with you tonight and maybe in the future sessions is going to be on this. People don't want to talk about retirement and death. And what's even worse, they are not talking about living. What can I do to really enjoy my retirement? We see from statistics that as people get older, they are more unhappy. So tonight, I want to motivate you to really take charge of your retirement planning process. And it is possible, and I'm going to show you how to do it without a lot of money. What's retirement coaching? Well, the whole coaching concept basically started in the 1989s. Retirement coaching is even much newer. Robert Laura of the Retirement Coaching Association, I think, did amazing work in the United States. Retirement coaching, and that's what I'm going to do with you over the sessions, is about designing a dynamic and rewarding lifestyle. Having a plan to get the most out of retirement. And that for me is the main idea. What's going to be my plan? So it's not about therapy. I'm not going to go into your history. What did your mother and father do wrong? What did your siblings do wrong, or your wife or your husband? We are going to prepare a plan for your retirement. And if we are aware of the things I'm going to share with you, it's just so much easier to get that plan into place. Why is it necessary to talk and plan for our retirement? If we look at this research that was done about the 43 most stressful events in your life, retirement is right up there at number 10. And if we look at the things that's more stressful, death of a spouse, divorce, being fired, being in jail, I mean, that's bad things. So retirement is a stressful event. And that's why we get something like the dark side of retirement. When the reality of being retired kicked in, you feel that something is missing. That's after the honeymoon period. Or you may waste a lot of your time trying to find out what you're going to do now, wondering why you don't feel fulfilled. If you get older, often we have more physical pain. You may feel robbed because you lose a family member, which is also a reality as we get older. Or even feel frustrated because it seems like the children see you as their piggy bank or their chauffeur to transport the grandchildren. Especially for the achievers, you might feel underappreciated because you're not getting elected to the committees, etc., like you used to be. People are not interested in your opinion that much anymore. Maybe you start complaining because of all these things, and then people don't visit you anymore. You maybe feel less confident about your weight. You feel socially awkward because some of your friends are still working and you're now sitting at home. And then eventually you can feel isolated. And when we talk about mental health, we can see how dangerous that is. So what do we see from the statistics? That after the honeymoon period, people feel sad, they feel lonely, depression kicks in. 20% of adults over 55 in the United States suffer from some kind of mental disorder. 15 to 20% of people over 65 suffer from depression. And then we see that this depression links back to physical illnesses like heart attacks, strokes, hip fractures, muscle degeneration. We also see that 37% of retirees retire earlier than what they expected. So suddenly you have less money than what you thought you would have. We can see that due to this untreated depression, there's a lot more suicides for people over 55. Alcohol and drug abuse is prominent at this stage because people sit at home, they have nothing else to do. They want to get the day over. So Retirement Coaching Association did some research in 2023 in the United States, where they basically wanted to see how does what people think before retirement and what they experience in retirement differ. And they found out that for many people, the retirement that they envisage is not the one that actually play out. 76% of retirees experience some difficulties, of which loss of identity, lack of daily routine, and having few friends. Where people before retirement think that they are going to have a lot more social interaction after retirement because you have more time now. People that have retired actually experience a decline in social interactions. 43% of all the respondents said that retirement was more difficult than what they expected. So let's just think a little bit more about this concept of retirement. And we are going to talk about those 5 items. But before we continue, I want you to just take out a little piece of paper and jot down the first 5 images that comes to mind when you think about retirement. And if you have that 5 images, I'm going to show you a little video clip with abstracts from famous movies that all dealt somewhere about older people, and just see the stereotypes that we face. And most likely, some of those images that you have about retirement will be in there as well.
Hey, old man! What are you doing here? You're too old for this.
Old.
Old?
Old.
I used to be with it, but then they changed what it was.
Too old to start a rock band.
Women aren't sexy when they're old.
We're looking for someone a little younger.
Face it, lady, we're younger and faster.
I can't fill up a space shuttle with geriatrics.
Getting old sucks. Did you just call me old?
Sure, we're too old to change the world.
To build a really better world sometimes means having to tear the old one down.
You know, at my age, I only have one speed, breakneck.
Face it, girls. I'm older and I have more insurance.
And not that it matters, but I am 52 and I will rock this dress.
Look and learn, boys, because if you ask me, this is what cool is.
Okay, we all know the jokes. You have seen the statistics about getting older. We even know that some people might think that people that are older are actually drained on our resources. They use medical resources, etc. And if we don't do something active in planning for our retirement, it can actually become all these stereotypes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Good news tonight is that science found that the secret to health and longevity has more to do with our physical surroundings, our personal attitudes, and our significant relationships than with our biology, with being old. And just one such an example is that Japanese versus European men, where Japanese men are really looked up to if they are older, they have higher testosterone levels and they live longer. Nothing else differs. Just being regarded, resulting in that. So let's talk a little bit about the baby boomers. Probably most of you that's watching tonight, born 1946 to 1964. When you grow up, well, looking at age or expected age, or you could expect to be in retirement 3 to 5 years. Wages was low, so often the baby boomers could not save that much. Interest rates were high, so also they didn't borrow that much. They realized that they can get nothing for free, so they work very hard. They challenged the status quo, and that's a good thing because you can challenge how we think about retirement. And they bought investments that took time to grow. I must actually congratulate you being still here, because if you look at what you all lived through, the Cold War, energy crisis of 1979, coming of age, the Asian financial crisis, and then one of my favorites, because my children always laugh if I tell them I'm older than Google, the dot-com bubble, the financial crisis of 2007, COVID in 2020. That's a lot to have experienced in a lifetime. And you are still here. So today we see that the baby boomers are the largest, educated, wealthiest group of people in the population. We see more and more of them getting 100 years old. We also see that they are helping others. We often talk about the sandwich generation. They're helping their parents, they're helping their children. And they also experience change from retirement plans that provided you with a fixed benefit to you taking charge of your retirement investments. Just some interesting facts about the development of retirement. So in the Stone Age, people basically lived until 20 and then died. In the biblical times, there was not really talks about retirement, and age expectancy or life expectancy was 30 to 40 years. Only in 1780 we first see that people will be being taken care of if they served in the military. 1875 we had the first employer-sponsored retirement plans. 1883, Otto von Bismarck supporting aging workers. In 1927, we get the first old age security grant in Canada for people over 70 years, while the life expectancy was still below 50 at that stage. And then in 1935, we only see the Social Security in the United States. So what we have found over time is that people live longer, you have more free time, but yet we have not changed how we think and plan for retirement that much. We live longer, and that changed everything. If we just look at the stats, in the 1960s, world life expectancy around 50. Today, we are standing at 71. That's a 40% increase in life expectancy. And yet, we have not changed how we think and plan for retirement. A few interesting studies. First one there, the Danish twin study, where they basically found that genetics account only for 25% of how long we live. Good news is that you can control 75%. And that's what I'm going to spend that extra sessions on, talking about ways that you can influence that 75%. They saw that environmental factors such as lifestyle, diet, socioeconomic status play a significant role in how long you live. And that things like smoking, bad diet, physical inactivity can actually reduce your life expectancy. And you will hear me talking about social connections and relationships often tonight. People with more social connections live longer. Another interesting study, the Lewis Truman study, found that gifted people tend to live longer, and if you have some kind of education, I think you fall in that category. Unconscientious people, they develop health risks, live shorter lives. And then very interesting, that people that work the hardest live the longest. But that was often people with meaningful careers. I don't know who of you watched the series Live Till 100 on Netflix. They basically talked about the blue zones, and that's the 5 areas in the world where people live the longest. And I'm just going to give you the highlight of the whole series. But if you can watch it, go and do so. It's really good. Even my kids, when we watched the first episode, they all asked, Dad, can we watch another one? So interesting was it. So our first blue zone is in Loma Linda in California. And what did they find out of that group of people that, the blue zones is where the 5 areas in the world where the largest portion of their population live until 100. So what they found in Loma Linda was that those people volunteered. They had a plant-based diet. They all belonged to a religious group. They were faithful, and they had the right tribe. That means that they surrounded them with friends that supported them from childhood. If we look at Costa Rica, one of the poorest countries in the world, they spent about 16% on healthcare what the United States spent, yet there's a group of people that are living until 100 and are healthy. So what did they find there? They have a vegetable, grain and beans diet. Eat very little meat because it's too expensive. But when they researched their diet, they found that they had all the building blocks for the protein that our bodies need. They do a lot of physical labor. They have strong social and family ties, and they have a sense of purpose. They know why they're getting up in the morning. If we look at Sardinia in Italy, I had the opportunity to go there about 5 years back. And I didn't realize it then, but the lady on our tour guide actually said that people live long here because of our good wine. But yeah, what do we find there? People walk. They are not belonging to gyms. They walk where they want to be. They take in good carbs, not the refined things that we get in our bread, because they eat pasta bread and pizza. They control their stress. They do activities to reduce stress, and they care for their elders. There are no old age homes there. In Ikaria in Greece, what do they have? Mediterranean diet that includes a lot of vegetables, fish. Again, walking. They have social engagement there. They gather together after working. They relax. And then Okinawa in Japan, they eat a lot of healthy food. Again, vegetables, beans, fish. They eat less food with very high kilojoules. They have light physical work. They do their own physical work. They clean their gardens. They sit on the ground, stand up, sit down all day long. They again surround themselves with the right friends, and they have a sense of purpose. And then I've just, for the interest in the red there, Harihachibu, that's the saying that they have on the food. They basically almost say, almost like a prayer before each meal, and it means 8 out of 10. Just eat until you're 80%. So, what do we see from this blue zones? The people that apply those principles have better health and functional independence into retirement. They all have regular physical activity. They have a sense of purpose. They have stress-reducing practices, and then they have rituals around mealtime celebrations and traditions that we see is reducing these days. So if I can summarize everything from the blue zones, there's 4 important things that comes out of all of those 5. Movement is important. Incorporate that into your daily life. You must have a positive outlook. you must eat wisely. A lot of vegetables, beans, nuts. You must not overeat. And good news, you can enjoy a small amount or a moderate amount of alcohol. And there's connectivity. There's communities that work together, their relationships are important. So our question today is, will we remain active after retirement? Because your physical activity is the visible side of retirement. And we cannot enjoy our retirement to the full if we are not physically well. Good news again is we can guard against physical disease and cognitive decline, and we are going to talk about that. It's the best legacy you can leave your children, if you can still take care of yourself, because we all know that medical expenses can be budget killers after retirement. So what's the solution? There's 7 areas of your life that you need to look at. Often as financial planners, we concentrate on the financial area. Do you have enough money? But there's also a social area, engagement that replaces your work, your physical health, your mental health, and your spiritual and values. And I think it's Gallup that did the research that found that only 7% of people flourish in all these areas. But I'm going to share with you over the next sessions how you can, without it costing you a lot of money, improve on all these areas to make more of your retirement. So let's just do some introductory work. On your retirement cruise, you are left stranded on a deserted island. This is a big relief. Why? Because you no longer have to deal with certain family members, maybe friends or relationships. Maybe don't need to worry now about money anymore. Just have a look and pick one that you think applies to you. What does your answer reveal? It reveals the area in your life that currently causes you stress. Retirement is not going to be stress-free. And I want to urge you to look at what you have said tonight, because that's an area that you need to start addressing. It's not going to magically disappear or change in retirement, but we can work towards resolving it. What's the biggest fears for people in retirement? I've listed them there: outliving the money, being ripped off, losing your identity, losing a loved one, staying connected, physical and mental health. If you look at those, what's your biggest fear? If that's a fear or a concern, it means that you need to start making plans to address it. It's not going to disappear after retirement. If money is your biggest question, some of the most common questions I get is, how much money do I need? Can I qualify for the social aid grant? Can I pay off my debt with my lump sum? Should I keep my life insurance? All these questions we are going to address in this next session on my financial planning. So just to say, we are going to talk about finances, but let's focus on the most important things. If today you visit the doctor and they tell you that you only have 5 years left to live, how will that change your life? If suddenly 20 or 30 years after retirement is not for you, what will you change? What will you focus on now? What do you want to accomplish, see, or do in the remaining 5 years? If we think about that, it helps us to start focusing on the more important things in life. And we can even take it further and say, but what will happen if you only have 48 hours left? What will you let go of that was even on your 5-year list? What would you like to do one more time? What regrets may you have for what you spent your time on in the past? It makes you think, and it helps you to understand what's really important. And hopefully it also motivates you to start planning to do your retirement in a better way. We all know that if we don't have money for everything, we have to focus and spend it on what's most important. And this little exercise will help us to focus our time and our money on what's most important for us. So let's start talking about this transition. I want you to list 5 to 10 things that you think you can gain at retirement and that you will lose when you go into retirement. I'm going to give you a minute or so for that. Because as Patrick Foley said, retirement is a blank sheet of paper. It's a chance to redesign your life into something new and different. So let's just think about this transition. What can you gain and what do you think you will lose? Okay. What is a transition? It's an inner process that we experience when things change. And because we live so much longer, retirement is such a transition. And it's normal in any transition in our life to experience feelings of loss, grief, and uncertainty. The good news is that retirement is a transition that is anticipated. We know our retirement date, most probably. It's also a specific event. We know that it will happen. It's not something fuzzy, like not getting a promotion or something like that. So it's an anticipated event. And because of that, we can plan for it. And we can plan about the changing of our roles, our relationships, our identity, so that we can move away from the D words, the decline, the detachment, to renewal, rewiring, reinventing. But this will take time. And it will take some effort. So Bridges developed 5 acts of retirement. Again, just helping you think about the retirement process. Act 1 is the time before retirement. When you start to think of it, so maybe some of you are there now. Act 2 occurs at retirement. Then you may become anxious, wondering how you're going to get out of bed. You don't socialize with colleagues anymore. Some of you may be there tonight. Act 3 is the neutral zone, where there's a period of uncertainty. You have now retired. Roles expectations change. You have more time at home. Maybe that's where you are tonight. And then if you have worked through that, we get to the period of new beginnings, where you start to reflect on possibilities and establish new routines. And the good news is by planning, you can actually shorten the period of uncertainty. And then eventually, when it all settles in and you have managed to work through that transition properly, you can now reflect and develop a new identity. So, I said earlier that I would like to invite you for further 3 sessions where we will address the following. And it's not a session on its own each time. We can maybe combine 2 or so at a time. But we need to talk about finances. We need to make a financial plan. We need to plan for medical costs. Then we also need to talk about the social side of our retirement. Make plans on how to socially connect to strengthen our relationships. And I'm going to share valuable practical ideas in that. Then we need to talk about engagement. How am I going to replace my work identity? How am I going to find meaning and purpose, a reason to get up in the morning? Then we need to talk about our physical well-being. How can I develop a daily schedule? What's a healthy and active lifestyle? And I'm going to share some valuable statistics and valuable ideas on how you can do that easily. Then our mental health. Hopefully motivate you, or you can plan to invest in yourself to stay cognitively active, to develop a realistic optimism about the things that will change in your life after retirement. And then lastly, and I initially thought, should I bring it in because religion is always a controversial topic. But when I read about the research that has been done and the benefits of being or belonging to a faith and the value it adds to our lives, I just realized that I had to include it there. Talk about values and a spiritual connection. And I'm going to warn you up front that I will talk about my own Christian faith and how I interpret it from there. How are we going to do this? I don't know who of you have read James Clear's book on atomic habits. Wonderful book to read. You make small changes that will result in remarkable behavior modification. Why do most diets not work? Because suddenly tomorrow I'm not eating any carbs anymore. And 2 weeks later, I just cannot deal with it anymore. Humans are in just such a way that we cannot make these big changes. It's not sustainable. But if we can apply the principles of atomic habits, we start small. For example, on the physical activity, I can decide to just walk 10 minutes a day. I can tell you what I did. I phoned a friend and said, listen, can we go and play squash once a week? That's sustainable for me. And we have done that for 2 years. And then at the beginning of this year, I said, okay, I'm not satisfied with that. I need a little bit more exercise. So let me start and practice at least 20 more minutes for 2 times a week. And I've been doing that. In our family, after watching the Blue Zones and Lift 100, we said, but let's eat vegetarian once a week. And we have done that. Small habits is sustainable. And then we increase it over time. And if you have a 1% improvement every week or every month, you have moved 10 to 50% over a year's time. So break the habits, break where you're working towards in smaller, maintainable goals. And if you slip, like Stephen Covey said, most families are off track 90% of the time, just come back. I'm going to share with you a PDF document of our retirement workbook. And in there, I'm going to ask you to think about your perfect retirement. But maybe just take a minute now. Think about, dream about your perfect retirement. What will it look like? How much money will you have? How much income will you have a month? Where will you travel? What car will you drive? Where will you live? What hobbies and activities would you like to participate in? What will you do with your time? That helps us set a picture that will hopefully motivate us to work towards that using the atomic habits. And then go in a bit more detail. How will my perfect week, my perfect day look? What will happen in the mornings? What will happen in the afternoons? What will happen in the evenings? Will I go and play golf every Wednesday afternoon? Will I drive with the children on Saturday? You see, if you don't plan for this, 2 years into retirement, you will find out that I can just be sitting at home, day in and day out. Nothing happens. But if I can start to imagine how these things will work, it makes the whole transition into retirement so much easier. So, in your retirement wellness workbook, I want you to complete the part until page 6, and I will share that with you. Just before we talk about finances. And you'll see on page 6, the last portion asks you, what will your bumper sticker say? So if you had to design the wording for a bumper sticker that you want to put at the back of your car on your retirement, what will that say? And I've just put up there on the screen one that I asked an AI to do, and it said retirement where every day is the weekend. But go and think for yourself, what would you like your retirement bumper sticker to say? I'm also going to share you a link to a retirement wellness quiz that you can do on my retirement coaching site. That will give you an indication how well you are prepared mentally, socially, physically, financially, and spiritually for the retirement. And maybe that will show you what you can spend more time on and what sessions you should not miss. So, what have we talked about tonight? We talked about why it is important to not just hope for the best if we retire, but to rather put in some effort to plan our retirement. We talked about the dark side of retirement that can happen if we don't. We talked about ageism and that we can actually work against those stereotypes. I congratulated the baby boomers. And then we talked about that we need to look holistically at retirement and not only the financial part. And we said that retirement is a transition. And there's a lot of things that we can do on the financial, the social, the mental, the physical, and the spiritual side to make this transition enjoyable and much easier on us. I know that I've talked quite a lot, but that's my story for tonight. So in the group, I will ask you if you are interested in joining me for some more free sessions in future. I think we need at least 2 more of an hour around to cover the other topics. Yeah, I don't know. Are there perhaps any questions that you would like me to address now? You're welcome to just unmute yourself. Okay, it doesn't seem like there are any questions at the moment. Jan, I will also, you just joined tonight. I will also add you to our WhatsApp group, and yeah, there we will then talk if you are interested in possible future dates that we can take this discussion further. From me, I want to wish you a good night. Thank you for joining me. I hope that you could see that I'm really passionate about this. I really want people's retirement to be better than what they would have envisaged otherwise. That's just my passion in life. Thank you very much for joining me. You must have a great evening.